Life on steroids. It's life beyond anything we've experienced.
If that typewriter could magically send a message to young Lee that started here, what would you tell him?
Oh, man, I think I'd say, keep seeking. The truth is out there. This is my case for heaven.
Hey, my friends, what's up? My name is Beto Gudinho. We're coming back from our mile run out there in beautiful Newport Beach. Welcome back to another episode of Christian Podcast in America. I am here to save American souls and American souls only.
The Sandoval brothers, how are you guys doing? Welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having us.
We're doing good. Hey, man, I want your energy, bro. Like, you got to give us the secret. By the end of this day, we want to know the secret.
It's called coffee, caffeine, every morning. The Sandoval brothers, this is amazing. Thank you so much again. And, I mean, first of all, I think, Manny, you were saying that we kind of met back in the days somehow, maybe in the music industry. You guys were in a band. So it's so cool to see that now you guys are kind of like still in the creative arts. But can you just maybe tell us a little bit that connection with music and where you guys are at now and who you guys are?
Yeah, I know for sure. Well, you know, I'm Manny. This is my brother Gil, my older brother Gil, and you know, I think it all comes from being artists, man. You know, an artist you're not an artist because you hold a guitar or a camera or what you've done. You're an artist at heart. I believe God created us with these artistic qualities in us. And he also created a bunch of artistic stuff for us to appreciate and be inspired by. So, yeah, we started as a band. You know, we're from South Central LA, immigrant parents that came in over in the 80s and, you know, grew up in rough areas. But music was a big catalyst God used in our lives to honestly show us kind of without us knowing it, the path of where we would end up today. So we started playing music in indie band. This is before social media. This is you know, website, Web 2.0. And, you know, it's funny because we'll get into, I know we're going to get into some NFT, you know, Web 3 with Gil. So I'm glad you're on here because you're talking about the future of filmmaking or media. So we'll get there. But long story short, we did not know what the internet would allow us and help us to do, which was reach other people in different communities that we would never have an opportunity to go to, meet, or know existed because we're a couple Latino kids that didn't know anyone. We had no connections. Our dad, when he came to America, was a dishwasher. Our mom cleaning houses. So, you know, how would we ever do this? You know what I mean? And we started this indie band in our garage, and then the internet came along, and then we started meeting people, and then social media came along, and then it just accelerated, man, because people discovered us. We could interact with people, right? Build communities. And also that's how we met. I mean, we probably met through a show we either played or watching a show together, and then, you know, we're friends on Facebook, probably from over 10 years ago, right?
Yes.
And you know, then the band led to starting our own company because what we did in our own band was market ourselves. We were independent. And independently, we were able to travel the world, go to Australia 4 times. And we went to Europe, the UK, Asia, America, Mexico, you know what I mean? In Guatemala and all this stuff. So it was incredible. But what we always say, God was training us and using these skill sets that we had no ideas could be a career or that you could get paid to do it. So Gil was always the graphic creative entrepreneur. And, you know, I was more of the marketing networker guy. But at the core of it, kind of like what you mentioned, was that from an artist perspective, we always prioritize how do we create freedom within us, our circles, and our communities to create holistically, because we all have a beautiful message. We all have this beautiful thing about us that we just got to learn to embrace, share, and be vulnerable with that, you know. And then now, you know, we have an agency that markets theatrical films in Hollywood, and we also produce films now, like The Case for Heaven, you know, that me and Gil produced, and it was a crazy journey. But Gil, did I leave anything out?
No, man, you did a great job. Good job. It's a beautiful thing because when you're an artist and when you're creating something, the medium matters, but it's not everything, right? So for us, being storytellers and songwriters, that was our way of expressing ourselves. right? And then it moved from being songwriters and musicians to expressing ourselves through performing and through a lot of other types of mediums like social media and marketing and advertising. And how do we extend ourselves that way? And the beautiful part about the internet was that it allowed us to build communities all around the world, not just here, and that was an incredible experience for us. It taught us everything.
Wow.
And like Manny said, you fast forward to the agency days, and man, we did the same thing in the music industry that we did in the agency that we did in the music, which was we didn't have the know-how, and we weren't related to anyone, and we didn't have the introduction. We didn't know anyone or anything. So what we did is we started helping people and tried to learn as much as we could. We would tell companies, we'll do this for free, or we'll do what they don't want to do,
Or we'll take on the projects no one wants to take on, or, let us just pitch you an idea. If you like it, use it. If you don't, well,
and to be honest, our dream was to create our own things, to create our own movies, our own projects, our own products, and deliver them to the market. But in order to do that, we needed to know how. How does that get accomplished? How do you do that? And to be honest, to do it our own way, and to do it the way that to use our own creativity, and to think outside the box, and to kind of be forward thinking in that area. So we learned everything we did through music, which led to the agency. And this year, our dream came true, man. We were able to release The Case for Heaven, which was, man, it was a long journey. It was hard, but thankfully, it was very successful. Thank God. And we couldn't be prouder. We couldn't be happier,
You know what I was going to say too, Beto, that there's something about artists and musicians that we have this grit, dude. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like it kind of talking about the caffeine, right? We can't give it up, and we won't give it up. And when I saw you and you DM'd me about doing this, I had no doubt that you're going and you're moving forward. And I think that's what we bring into everything we do. That you got to set up and tear down. You got to play 120%, whether there's 2 people in the audience or 100 people. You got to play whether you're sick or feeling happy or not. You got to find that strength within you to keep moving forward. With everything with excellence, man. So this is a really cool full circle for us, man. So I'm excited to do this.
Wow. Love it. Wow. That's amazing. And there's one question you didn't answer, which, when you guys were talking back and forth with one another, that I would love to know. Just, this is curiosity, but I think it's somewhat related. And it's, where did your parents come from? Because you said they were immigrants.
Oh, yeah.
So our parents were born in Guatemala. Okay. I was also born in Guatemala, wow. in a town called Puerto Barrios, Guatemala. My mother was born in the capital, and they came here in the 80s. I came here when I was 9 months old, in 1983, or actually 1984.
Wow.
And we've been here ever since.
Okay, I love that because I'm an immigrant, right? I come from Mexico. I relate to all of the stories from immigrants coming into this nation. Even when you said, our mom worked in the washing dishes or doing when you think of immigrants in America, and especially from Latin America, I always think service, right? I always think hotels. Who's cleaning the hotel rooms? I always think who's making the food in those restaurants. I always think who's cutting the lawns in those nice, beautiful green grasses. And I feel like, as an immigrant myself, right, we come to this country with a dream, right? And that's why I'm titling like the podcast now, In America, because I feel like it's everything I'm discovering that happens here in America. So how do you think your guys' story, it's maybe even connected to your parents' dreams coming to this nation? Like, do you think your parents were thinking, oh man, one day my kids are going to make movies?
I feel like both of us really want to take this, Manny. So I think
we're both talkers, so let's both condense. I will say. Go ahead.
I'll say that I think we are our parents' dream. I think our parents' dream came true a long time ago. I think the movie and what happened with the movies was, I don't want to get emotional on your podcast right now, man.
Dude, please, man,
It's been an emotional time.
I love it.
It's been an emotional time for us.
He's got sunglasses, so he's lucky.
I know. I think everything that's happened right now is a cherry on top. And I think our parents' most proudest moment and our parents' most proudest achievement is us. And being a father now, I realize that, and I see the importance and the magnitude of that, having children and having them grow up closely, and the fact that, Manny and I fight for each other all the time. I fight for Manny. Manny fights for me, even when I'm wrong. He'll tell me, "Hey, dude, you're wrong, but I'm going to go fight for this for you." And our other brothers, and the fact that we are close, and the fact that we did this together, I think that in and of itself is probably the thing that they're most proud of.
Beautiful. Manny, do you want to add to that? So good.
Oh, man, I think you said it perfectly. You really did.
Wow. Well, that's beautiful. I think I resonate with that so much. And when I think of dreams, when I think of America, when I think of you guys being your parents' dream come true, but also you guys developing your own dreams and passions in this country, I can't help but think of, for example, we're talking about the future of faith-based entertainment, and I can't help but start thinking about Hollywood and California, right? And how California it's a hub for creators, and whatever resonates in California starts resonating around the world, right? And even Arizona, right? Like I'm just saying, creators in America. So with that in mind, what do you guys think is one of the hardest struggles maybe when it comes to creators in America, when it comes to creativity, when it comes to creating, I don't know, maybe even faith-based entertainment? What was your guys' struggle as you guys approach, we have this dream, but when it comes to faith-based, was there a specific struggle that you guys, or hurdles that you guys have to cross over?
Yeah, I mean, there's challenges, and no one makes it alone. So that's no surprise to anyone. The whole self-made thing. Like, I understand the sentiment, but I don't think it exists. I think everyone, needs help. And we didn't get here alone. We slept on a lot of people's floors, garages, couches, and stuff like that. But I think it's misunderstood. The faith-based media is misunderstood on both sides, whether you're a believer or you're not a Christian or don't know anything about God. But also think the road to what you would call success is misunderstood as well. And it all comes from knowing why you're doing it, your calling, right? And then two, understanding that the journey, it isn't really so much always the destination, but like putting in the process, right? Our parents just came from Guatemala, so we're talking about this. He was saying a lot of us believe in the promise, but we forget about the process. So the process is where life is crushing you think, but it's truly creating a refined version of who you are. Hopefully, if you know God, it really just brings out the best of you, because nothing can break you, right? The scriptures talk about that. My favorite verse is the one that talks about like nothing can separate us from the love of God. So basically, life, you can come at me, but I will still rise because of my faith. So long story short is we misunderstand what success is. We misunderstand what the journey looks like. And we misunderstand what faith media means. And I'll talk about the faith media aspect, and I'll pass it to Gil. Before there was a faith market, there was media, and let's reverse back. Before media, there was art, right? All the beautiful stuff in Europe, that's art commissioned by the church.
Wow.
Whether you're a person who believes in God or not, you go to the Sistine Chapel to admire it for its beauty. So that beauty doesn't need to be explained, though it's, commissioned by the church. So what I'm getting at is that we put a label on who we are and what we do. And truly the question that people want to know is, what is it about you, or what is it about this that makes it so special and unique? And there's a truth in that. But I think what the struggle with faith media is that people create with that label in mind. And I feel like it starts becoming less genuine because they're trying to hit these boxes. If you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So I think
Wow.
that is misunderstood. So when you're starting out, you say, well, I need to do exactly what the faith market is doing. You can learn from it, but truly what you're doing is really kind of limiting yourself in a way, if that makes sense. But yeah, Gil, do you have anything to add to that?
No, man, you said it perfectly. I agree with what you said 1,000%. And I think the history aspect is a huge point that I feel like we miss all the time. You know, how art was created in the past. And I think nowadays, man, this is not talking down or bad about anyone, because at the end of the day, man, like, we all need to survive. We all need to make money, and you make decisions based on different things. You know what I mean? Like there is content for everyone, right? But I think the thing that we as content creators, or as people, creatives and artists in general, I think sometimes we lose our way in trying to please an audience instead of expressing ourselves for the sake of creating something beautiful, not only for ourselves, but because we think that we think that, as cheesy as it might sound, God would be proud of us for doing this. You know?
Wow. Yes. Oof. That's so powerful. So, first of all, that's why I have emojis, because exactly what you guys are describing, I thought, man, it's not like I have the higher ground as a believer, right? When it comes to faith, that's the perception we could have, you know. Oh, I need to save the world, right? And I almost say it like jokingly, I'm here to save American souls, because that's the impression that some Christians have of themselves. Like, we're here to save the world, right? And what you're saying is like, hey man, before we were, you know, creating all this like Christian faith-based whatevers, there was art, and art is a gift from God, whether you take it, you know, as is or not, right? So that's so powerful, because I mean, to me, like, the emojis were very significant in my approach to this, because I thought I need to have a spectrum of belief when it comes to sharing my faith, you know. And I take it that not everybody I'm going to talk with is going to be on the same spectrum of belief as me. So that's where I started including emojis. You know, hey, tell me what you think. Tell me what you think is blasphemous. Tell me what you think is divine. Because ultimately, I guess the majority of the world is secular, right? The world doesn't really move on like, oh, I wonder if I'm blaspheming the name of God or not. They just, oh, I created something cool, right? Now, what do we do with it? So think of the atomic bomb, right? These guys are scientists who they're creating something amazing, right? And they did, but it's so powerful, and then it's up to us to decide what do you do with it, right? It's powerful, but it can also cause harm.
That's a truth bomb, bro. Add that bomb, you know.
The bomb emoji. I don't have the bomb emoji yet.
Dude, and you know what's funny? It's that, like, we live in this world, and we've all heard this if you're in the Christian world, but we're not of this world, but we live in this world. And I think the biggest thing, what I love about beauty, art, and which has become a medium as a media, right, is that you don't label that tree, oh, that's a Christian tree. You know, the Grand Canyon is a Christian canyon, you know, but God is the creator, right? Mm-hmm. And I think what it is that our creativity is an extension of that divine essence that God created us. I mean, we're created in his image, right? So we are creative because he is creative, right? And I don't think we need to, I don't know, we get so lost in that we don't focus on what God's given us versus focusing on what everyone else is doing. And I think, again, I mean, you know, I don't like the we versus us or them, whatever it is. It's like, you know, we get a lot that as Christians, we should lead the way. And I agree with the sentiment of it, but, you know, it's not a competition. It's who we are. And then it permeates into culture. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you know what's interesting? You talked about the service aspect of being an immigrant, right? We're always in services, hospitality, construction, whatever. But you know what's funny? It's how you look at it. You know, when I see someone cleaning someone's house, I say they're preparing a place where moments will be created, right? The food, they're creating a service a dish that's going to bring conversation, that will bring unity within a family, right?
Wow.
And that's what our parents, and I believe immigrants, we have, where we look at that job and we don't go, you know, that's not dishonorable. The most honorable thing you could do is serve full-heartedly. And I think that's why we're doing this, because our parents showed us that, right? Like, all honest work is honorable. It's the heart. And that's what Jesus talked about, right? It's the heart. So create from your heart, man, you know, and you're going to learn, you're going to make mistakes, and people are always going to criticize you. You know,
it doesn't matter what you do, man. It doesn't matter what you do. Someone will always criticize you. And our mother used to tell us this all the time, you know, they criticize Jesus.
Wow.
You know what I mean? The Son of God. What do you think they're going to do to you?
Wow.
You know what I mean? So you just gotta go anyway, man.
And you know what? Your emojis are so brilliant, dude, to be honest with you, because that's what people are thinking in their head. How many times, dude, believe it or not, I hear someone saying, I'm like, dude, that's blasphemous. But that's in my mind. The question is, can we talk about it and not,
sure, 100%.
You know what I mean? And still learn, you know what I mean? People don't talk to learn, you know?
100%. I honestly feel like I feel like we're going to be surprised at a lot of the things that we find out, because I think especially as Christians, and really as human beings, really, we like to think that we know everything, you know, like science and you know, like astrology, like all of these things that we think that we know. But if you look at history, how long ago was it that we thought the earth was legitimately flat, or that, you know, to cure a headache, you had to drill a hole in somebody's head and that was medicine, you know, to relieve the pressure. Like every step of the way, we think that we know everything, and then we discover something else. I'm curious to see what we'll discover in the next 5-10 years. And more importantly, I'm curious to see what we'll discover when we go to heaven and meet God. And like, watch us find out that God has a massive, crazy old sense of humor. Like, watch us find out that he was laughing at a lot of these jokes that a lot of people thought were blasphemous, or that he actually watched HBO too. You know what I mean? Like something crazy,
fire, bro.
Man, Game of Thrones, they get the blasphemous emoji.
Yeah, dude.
Right?
Watch us get up there and be like, dude, man, I did not agree with Game of Thrones, but
every Christian is watching it.
Yeah, God's up there just being like, man, that was some creative stuff. I don't agree with it, but it was fire. It was pretty cool.
That's true. Well, I love that. And you were saying, Gil, you were saying that there's content for everyone. So I want to talk about that tension, because I know when we talk about faith-based, it's kind of like this dilemma of, well, should we niche it out and say this is just Christian-based entertainment, or should we open it up and try to aspire to being like the generic places? But at the same time, this is just I'm a futurist, and this is where I see the trends going. I feel like, for good or for bad, I feel like our society, it's siloing out their beliefs or their ideologies, and therefore the content that it's being created, it's being pushed to those silos. So one example, and I'm not trying to throw poop on these guys or anything, because I love what they're doing, actually, because I think they're clear on their messaging, and props to them. But one of them would be the Daily Wire, right? And I'm actually inspired by what they are doing, because they're saying we're conservative media, right? And that's their approach, but it's siloed, right, to an extent. But they're making their own movies, they're making their own content, and people are subscribing to it. So when it comes to the future of Christian-based or faith-based media, do you guys see it siloing out even more? Do you think we should explore being like, the Case for Heaven is on Amazon, so that's great. But is it going to be, sooner than later labeled under, okay, this is only Christian, and only Christians will watch it because like, oh, that's not for me? Right. Yeah. What do you guys think of that? That like dilemma of media and faith?
First off, that's a great question. I think it's an important question, and to be honest, I think the answer is a little bit more complicated than in nature than what I would like it to be. I would like to say that like genres exist for moods, not necessarily, and for like character types, not necessarily for segments of people per se. I think I think that the Christian genre is strange because I don't necessarily think it should be a genre or like or an audience per se. I think it should be inspirational in nature, because I don't like the fact that there aren't many comedy faith movies, right? And even the fact that I have to label it as comedy faith movie is weird to me. I think actions speak louder than words. So when someone is creating something, there's no way of hiding that person's like ethos or that person's character, that person's vibe within what they're creating. It's going to come out, right? If you watch a Keenan and Peele movie, Keenan and Peele, like or those guys, they're everything will come out in what they do, right? If you watch a Spielberg movie, or if you watch, dude, if you watch these kinds of movies, you kind of know what to expect, because it kind of comes out. So regardless of what they say, what they do is different, right? So I know for a fact that when Manny directs a movie, and when he makes a movie, Manny's personality will come through in that in one way, shape, or form, right? So whether it's a drama, a comedy, an epic, whatever that is, his personality will come through in that story. So people will see what he is about and what the story is about. I think it's interesting, the fact that we as Christians think that we should always create Christian, quote unquote, Christian content and have it become 1000% directed to this audience, because even in and of itself, that's a little backwards thinking. Because if you look at the Christian message is not meant for only Christians. It's meant for non-Christians. How do you reach non-Christians? How do you get to that place? And I honestly, I don't know the answer 100%, but I know for a fact that we've been doing it wrong, or we've been doing it not the best way possible, because of, look at today's decline in people that identify as Christians, yet more people identify as spiritual. Less people identify with a certain denomination or a certain church, but more people identify with spirituality. What does that mean? So these are all things that we need to look at. And for us as content creators, we don't necessarily look at those things. We don't necessarily look at, like, is this a Christian story, or we are Christian. That's who we are. You know what I mean? That it's going to come out. It's going to come out of us, because that's who we are. Yeah. People that work here at our agency, I'll finish with this. Sorry, man. I'll finish with this. People that work here at our agency, I would say probably 75% of them are not Christian, but they see how we live. They see us every single day, and you can ask them, and they will tell you multiple times. We have people here that were atheists that aren't atheists anymore. They don't necessarily identify with Christianity, but through our relationship and through us doing life with them and being here, they see, wow, there must be a God, But yeah. I think that's like the real thing. I don't think we should be trying to create these holier than thou things and trying to get people to see them, et cetera, et cetera. I think we should be truthful to the content, be truthful to the story. And I think, honestly, God honors that, man. Like the heroes of the Bible were not perfect. Do you think did the Bible water them down? Right? Did the Bible water any of that down? Did the storytellers water them down? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. If you took the Bible word for word and you made it into a movie, it would not be PG. Yes. It would be rated R. It would be a rated R movie, right? If you took it word for word, it would be a rated R movie. They didn't water it down for a reason, because it was real. It was true. David did some crazy things. It's real. He was a human being, but yet we shy away from all of those things. We shy away from all of it. And man, I don't know what the answer is. I don't know what the solution is, but I know that it's a thing.
Wow.
Yeah, you're preaching, bro. I'm good, man. You just brought Sunday to Thursday. Dude, Gil's my brother. And by the way, I mean, we're very honest and brutal with each other. But dude, I don't know that I ever heard you say that, but I agree with that, man. Why is it faith, faith genre, it should be under inspiration or life changing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And man, I think that was a beautiful way to put it, man. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, I agree.
Well, I don't think it's right and I don't think it's not that I don't think it's right. I would love to see some of these, some faith content creators create films that are funny and that are just funny, you know, or that are maybe more suspenseful because they're suspenseful, you know, and just to kind of focus on the story of that. But I think oftentimes we try to really force something into turning it into something because we think that the audience that this is for won't like it. And then now we're here where, I mean, man, I just think we water down content for an audience instead of creating content that's good and can stand on its own and letting the audience appreciate that. We try to create something that's for a specific group of people. When I guarantee you, dude, our mothers, how many novelas do our moms watch? You know what I mean?
All
like
of them.
they're not sitting at home just watching, you know, Christian movies and Christian TV shows. They're watching novelas, and some crazy stuff happens in the novelas. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like everybody's sleeping around with everybody, but they're watching it. They just don't say it, right? They just don't talk about it at church. So, man, I don't know. I would like to see more drama. I'd like to see more comedy. I'd like to see more action, bro. I want to see a superhero, dude. I want to see a superhero that prays to God and is like, man, I don't know what to do, man. I don't know what to do, but I'm here, bro. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm here, God. You know, and he's like not the Christian Batman, but he's just like he's Batman that also like.
We were close. We had Christian Bale.
Yeah, dude, that's as close as we got. We got Christian Bale.
And you know what? I'll add to that, Gil. We want to see more Lord of the Rings, Narnia.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, that's a perfect example. That's a perfect example.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, these were people of faith that created because they were expressing their gifts, you know? And I really, truly think that when you express those gifts, it honors God. It really does. But I think also, I mean, to give the industry some credit, man, the heart is in the right place, obviously. You know what I mean? We just need to evolve and innovate. You know what I mean? And I love you call yourself a futurist because I totally resonate with that, because the truth is, before we can get to the future, we have a present. And to get out of the present, time has to happen. So it's almost like I was talking to the Uber driver about this. It's like a pendulum, right? A scale. And right now it's tipped this way, but to get this way, it slowly has to go this way. But someone needs to think about why we need to go this way. You know what I mean? And I think the future is hopeful and bright. Yeah. And that's why we're thankful. Our thing is like, dude, we might not even open the doors for future filmmakers, but we're hoping at least we're knocking on the doors, letting people know the door. We want these doors to open. And if we're not the ones to walk through them, we hope that someone else will. You know what I mean? Because we need to continue to innovate. And there are films that are for the church, meaning to lift and instruct and what is it, to edify the church who are already Christians. But then there are films which a Christian language would be evangelistic films, you know what I mean? That have a message that speak to those who aren't Christians. But sometimes when you have an evangelistic film that doesn't look the way the church wants it to, they get really frustrated about that. And I understand that. Doesn't mean I completely agree, but it's just, you know, I mean, gosh, imagine if God made this world really bland and like just very much like copy paste. Wow. I mean, it reminds me of Mario. The first thing that came out, like Mario from Nintendo. Imagine if that was it. He did it, man. Because the scriptures even talk about it, saying, look at my works. And people will like literally say, who are you to think of me? This little thing amongst this universe and this beauty around us. And maybe that's what the art is to question, why me? What does this mean? And the Gospels, like you talked about, Gil, like those stories, they ask us, they challenge you, like, man, why would God ask that of them? Or why did God forgive them? Or why did he call David, you know, a man after his own heart? Like that makes no sense to me. That you have to think critically about that. And then I'll ask the last question about faith films. What is the critical questions or challenging thoughts that we're leaving people who watch the films to think about as they walk away? You know what I mean? And I think that's what the scriptures do. They keep us thinking, dang, man, like this faith is radical. This grace is radical. This generosity, this forgiveness is radical. Yeah. And it makes you kind of honest, like, how can this be? But that's why it's divine.
And I agree 1,000%. And don't hear us wrong, whoever's listening to this. We're not saying that Christian movies are bad. What we're saying is that
some are.
Well, like, you know, that's a good point. Like any medium, there are good ones and there are bad ones. That's just part of being an artist and creating something. You're not always going to get it right. But I think what we're saying is, and I think Manny put it really well, there are different kinds of films, and we shouldn't be overly eager and quick to judge something different. You know, I think if you're looking at something and you think it's controversial, I think it might be in your best interest to enter it with an open mind and see if it's something that makes you think. It's something that opens your mind to something, maybe, because if we only consume content that's not controversial, you probably shouldn't be reading the Bible. The Bible is very controversial. There are controversial thoughts and things in the Bible, and we look at that and we read it and we interpret it, and it opens your mind, right? It opens your mind to different ways of thinking. Most of the heroes in the Bible are controversial. You know, they did things that in today's day and age, we would cancel them immediately.
Wow. Man, that is epic. I think, so one of the things I'm getting away with in this episode is the idea, you haven't said it this way, but this is my phrasing, the idea of persuasion. So when I think of faith-inspired media, I think behind it is the idea of persuasion, because even what you said, you know, in your agency, 75% of the people are non-Christian or non-believers or whatever, right? But the persuasion of being around you and seeing how you live might inspire them to say, hey, maybe there's something here. And I feel like I love the idea of persuasion when it comes to scripture, because I feel like that's the idea of freedom. God didn't say, here I am, worship me, bow down, even though he kind of says that, right? But he gives you the freedom. He persuades us to willingly say, oh, wow, I believe there is a God. I believe there's a creator. And I think that's the inspiring element that stories or narratives can bring to the table. And I was just thinking about that, you know, the whole picture of, we're in America, Hollywood, Christian content creators are rising up, right? Like you guys is, and the idea that you can tell something compelling through a story. That's almost like the highest aspiration anyone can have in this world, to say this story is worth telling.
Yeah. Right? Well, I think I agree. I think as Christians, we have our pet emotions. We have like our favorited emotions, and we ignore the other ones. We forget that anger is an emotion also. And we forget that disappointment. We forget that all of these other, sadness is an emotion also. And I feel like the reason why we relate so much to these characters in the Bible and to these people in the Bible are because they were human, right? Like they were doubters, and they doubted. And yet we accept them because they overcame, right? And they persevered. And now they're the heroes of our faith. But when your boy down the street doubts, you're like, oh, he lacks faith. He's not one of us. You know, he's not legit. You know, he needs more. He needs to go to church more. You know, and we're so quick to judge, and we're so quick to just be like, no, you're not one of us. You're not this. You're not that. Like, it's interesting. And I think it's a human thing, man. I think these are all human traits.
So good. So I just have one question relating to money, and hopefully it's helpful for creators out there who are maybe wrestling, even like me, you know, with budgets, for example. So I was talking to the Daryl Eves, the producer of The Chosen, or one of the executive producers of The Chosen, and we were talking about money and how money is it's a tool that they use, but it's needed. And I was seeing some numbers from Angel Studios, which is the guys that put him on the map pretty much. And they were saying that the revenue from The Chosen is $70 million dollars, right? And this is, it sounds like a lot, but when it comes to compared to like billions of dollars spent on budgets for other films like Marvel or whatever, it puts whichever other content, right? In this case, we're talking about faith-based creators. It puts us on a different category when it comes to how much can we produce and what kind of quality can we aspire to. Yeah. So what have you guys wrestled with when it comes to low budget equals, the movie's going to suck? Or can we do something good with low budgets compared to billions of dollars?
That's a valid question, man. And I think everyone's asking that. I don't think your budget should determine whether you should do something or not. And I'm going to be brutally honest, man. I think we have a lot of weak-minded people. But guess what? If we have a weakness, it's because we can build a strength. And if you're offended by that, then I'm sorry, you must be very strong, right? Because the truth is, I have weaknesses in my life. That's why I have my brother. You know what I mean? That's why I have faith, because I need someone to help me build my weakness, up, right? So budget, what I would say is start where you are. What do you have, right? And I think you always said this, Gil, when we started out, let's put out the work the type of work, the quality that we want to get. So if you're the kind of person where like, oh, my budget's not very great, so I'm not going to try very hard, then you're going to keep getting budgets at that level. But if you go, you know what, I don't have very much, but I'm going to use that limitation to innovate and create a higher quality with a lower budget, guess what? You're going to get higher budget projects and higher budget opportunities. And that's what we always did, man. I mean, we started our company with $700. You know what I mean? So like, I get the budget thing. You know what I mean? I totally get it. And if you're a Christian, you'll get this. Like, how can God trust you with so much if you can't really honestly manage something on a beginner scale? Honestly, like that, it will be self-destructive. Like all of us dream about the perfect movie budget. I would worry about the perfect story to tell. Mm-hmm. And secondly, is your heart really in it? Because when you're producing a film, everyone and people will say, bad idea, wrong time, don't want to invest in it, or, all the critical things. But if your heart's not in it and you're not called to do that, you're going to waver. And guess what's going to suffer? The story, the quality, and everything. So I really believe that you have to use what you have at your disposal. And remember, your success story, your journey is building upon every failure as much as every success. So you're building. I mean, you don't just shoot your first film and it's like the Spielberg budget. Obviously, it takes time and patience, man. I have a friend that says patience, the definition of patience is long suffering, But the problem is that, and we know this as immigrants, right? Like suffering is what's made us strong.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And it's scriptural, man. Like, I don't know if there's Christians or non-Christians watching this show, so I don't want to lose people in the language. But the truth is the refinement process. And what comes out, man, is powerful, man. So again, if you're suffering, you're on the right track when you're creating a beautiful piece of art or film. I mean, that's part of it. Tell any producer, they all want to pull their hair out and they all it's a miracle. That's why, honestly, I will never say a film sucks because I know how hard it is to make a film.
So good.
It wasn't my cup of tea is probably my diplomatic answer.
Yeah, I like that. So what are the critics saying right now? You guys have a film that's out and it's the Case for Heaven and or any other content that you guys produce, and when it comes out, what do the critics say and how do you wrestle with that, and what are you learning from criticism?
I don't read it. I don't read any of it. So Manny knows exactly what.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would say this: everything that we are right now has been our whole lives training us to be, including our parents, right? And our parents always taught us, take the good, and spit out the bad. So even criticism, take what you can learn from it, but spit out the bad. And the truth is that, you're always going to make more projects. Take it as a learning experience. To be honest with you, it hurts reading some of these reviews or things because some people are really mean. I'm not going to lie to you. But the reality is that this is what helps me go to sleep at night. We did every possible thing to put everything into this and make it the best way. And also honor the conviction of what we feel in our hearts we had to do for the film. Does that make sense? Because if you listen to everybody, then you would have a very disjointed film. And the question as a filmmaker or creative who is watching this, God gave you a vision and you have to stay strong to that vision. It doesn't mean that it won't evolve or it can't be refined. But if you're swayed by a comment, then man, I don't know that you're ready to do this yet.
Wow.
I'm being brutally honest because someone is going to do that. Someone's going to tell you that. And our parents always told us, careful who you tell your dreams to because they may not understand, you know? And so, yes, the negative comments hurts, the criticism hurts, but you know what I hold on to is that one person that was touched. And I just think about it. And again, everybody wants to reach the world, you know, and we're grateful we're on Amazon. We're grateful that we had a successful theatrical release for The Case for Heaven. But the truth is, it was always keeping the main thing. We want to share this truth. We want to share this story with one person that could be touched, and that would be worth it. And a lot of people think they believe that, but when it doesn't go in their favor or it's a failure project, quote unquote, on a financial standpoint, they waver or whatever. You know what I mean? Sometimes God calls you to say the message that people don't want to hear right now. Noah, the Bible, people didn't want to hear it. They made fun of him. They ridiculed him, man. And so, you
Jesus.
You know what I'm saying? Like do it because you're called to do it, man. And then, you know, God sometimes, you know, is great how it'll work. And, you know, we're grateful for the success. But if The Case for Heaven was a failure, we'd still keep making movies and we keep striving to make movies that matter, to say what we feel like God is calling us to share in that time and place. You know what I mean? Because it's necessary.
I told my brother, we were in London, and I told him when we were walking and he was telling me what, you know, everything was going to happen. I told him, once this comes out, the world will know something that we have known for a while now, is that we're filmmakers, and no one can take that from us. I don't care what they say. I don't care what happens. I don't care if it goes to zero. It still doesn't change the fact that we made our dreams come true, and that we're going to sit in a theater with our parents, and I'm going to look at my dad and I'm going to say, look, Dad, that's your name. We did this together. You came here with nothing. You came here with nothing, with not a dime to your name. And look, that's your name. That's your last name. And we did that. And that, after that, man, being here right now, like everything else that happens from here is cherry on top, man. It's just like, we're going to go and we're going to keep building and we're going to keep making things. But that fact alone, I'm so grateful that God allowed us to be able to do something like that and to honor our parents the way that we were able to, because that's what means the most to me. And these people that say whatever, one, they have too much time on their hands, and two, they don't know us. They don't know the story. They don't know what happened. It's not for them, and that's okay. That's all right. That's like the big misconception. Hey, it's not for you. Cool. No worries. No harm, no foul. You know, like, go watch something else.
Oof. Man.
Scroll on by, I guess.
Well, my friends, there you have it. What an amazing conversation this has been. We're going to go to our emoji reactions right now. But first, I just want to, again, say thank you guys for being on the show. And for those of you who are watching or listening, wherever you're watching and listening, give us a follow, give us a subscribe, give us only 5-star reviews. Don't give us 1 or 2, because those hurt. All right, but we're so glad you guys are here. So let's go to our final emojis. All right, you guys are ready? We are gonna walk through our 5 emojis, and you guys know the drill. So basically, you guys can take turns or say, I'll take that one, and go for it. All right, so the first one is blasphemous emoji. When it comes to faith-based entertainment, what is the most blasphemous idea you can think of?
Oh, man. I can't honestly think of one on the top of my head. Do you have one, Gil?
When it comes to faith-based entertainment, the most blasphemous idea you can think of is creating something without an altar call.
All right. And that is blasphemous.
Yeah, I think okay, here's a little more practical one.
Okay.
If a faith movie almost deliberately rips off another film that was successful, in like a mainstream set, I think God gave us more creativity than to copy someone's work,
Love
close,
it. Okay. Skeptical. What are you guys skeptical of still when it comes to faith-based entertainment or media?
Skeptical. These are tough, man. It's
they're just emojis, man. Just
you're
emojis.
Gonna get us in trouble. That's what's happening here. You're gonna
go for it.
What am I skeptical about? I am still skeptical about people.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm skeptical of people in the faith industry that don't surround themselves with non-Christians.
I love that. Inspired. What are you guys inspired by, or what gives you hope?
Oh man, every breath, man. Because I can't do it. I don't do that, right? Who controls that? It's God. So God is the ultimate inspiration, and everything underneath is just His blessing. And there's too many reasons to not be inspired. And I think that's why we do what we do, and we say what we do, and we're even trying to challenge the way people think, whether you're Christian or not, because there's so much of God's goodness around us, whether you can see it. He's merciful, even though in the news you see all these bad things. His mercy exists, and imagine if He didn't exist and wasn't merciful and wasn't intervening in miracles and divine ways. This world would be crazy. It would be darkness, complete darkness. So, anyways, Gil, go ahead.
No, amen. You got it.
Okay. We move on to holy. One to the last. Holy. What is a holy idea? Whatever your interpretation of holy is.
I think a holy idea is following your heart, following the thing that God put in your heart, regardless of where it takes you.
So good. And lastly, divine. The most divine idea you can think of.
The Chosen.
I love that word.
Shout out Dallas.
Jonathan Rumi.
Shout out Dallas. Good job, brother.
Yeah. Jesus is the divine, man. I mean, that's divine.
And Jesus had a sense of humor. Just remember that.
The modern embodiment of Jesus is Jonathan Rumi, right?
Is that that's the actor, right?
That's the guy that plays Jesus.
That would be the ultimate documentary of all the people who've played Jesus, and just.
I know, huh?
I have to say, man, that's a rough thing to do because and I know, but just carrying that weight, that response, but also how people view you, man. I just, that must be rough, but but nonetheless, someone's got to do the job.
That's true. All right, that's the divine idea. And we wrap it up right here, right now, my friends. Thank you so much for watching. And I want to point people to whatever you guys want. Where do you want to point people to watch, to Amazon, to your website, to Sandoval Studios? Where?
Yeah. Check out thecasforheavenmovie.com, and that's where you can see all the movie, where and whatever. It's Amazon, iTunes, and you can check that out. And then, our company, SandovalAgency.com and Sandoval.Studios. And you can see we got a lot of projects coming, especially for our Latino community. And we're very grateful, honored, and blessed to be where we are. Thanks for having us, man.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Thank you so much.